This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm Lucas Biggers. Alongside me is James and Sakura. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Yes,
Rob's on vacation, so we're without our sidekick for the day. Our humor.
Our antagonist. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was looking for another word.
You're Stephen A.
Yeah, Stephen A. All right. A lot of boxing. Let's jump right into some things here. The very first thing I wanted to talk about, because I think it was maybe the biggest statement of the weekend. Mendoza drops the tower. Fundora. One, how shocked were you? And two, is Fundora bouncing back from that? Would you even consider this an upset?
I certainly did. I certainly did consider it an upset. I thought, he was a heavy favorite. But he had a really steady opponent, rock steady. And he just did what he had to do. And he found Fundora got a little bit lazy with his right hand. And he got caught. And he got caught again and again. So Mendoza did what he had to do, was stay in the fight, and he was losing a few rounds there, but he was in it. He was in it 100%. I was shocked, to be honest with you. I'm still shocked.
Yeah. It was shocking. I definitely call it an upset for sure.
Yeah. I was shocked. I couldn't believe he's so tall. He's so big. I mean, as your trainer, he has to be yelling like, "Use your height!" Like it's ridiculous. And when he got caught, they were extremely close. They're fighting on the inside. If Fundora can use his range and use his height, use his size advantage, but he really doesn't.
No,
not his style at all.
He fights short. He likes to fight on the inside. And some other boxing pundits have said, he wears glasses, so maybe it's one of those things with his vision where he really feels comfortable fighting on the inside for whatever reason. I'm not sure that that's really an issue, because I have the same problem, with my vision. But, at that distance, you really shouldn't make a difference. Who knows? But he doesn't fight long, that's for sure. He doesn't have any of that, let's say Thomas Hearns, where he was always fighting at a distance and could mix it up on the inside, but chose to, he did both very well. Hearns did. Fundora seems like he's more one-dimensional. He likes the inside. He likes the action on the inside. It's surprising. But, you got to give the credit where credit is due. And Mendoza took it to him and used timing there. It's a perfect use of timing to get that left hand out and then seal the deal. So good for him.
I was going to say that. I was like, it's not a lot of, everybody's talking about Fundora and they're not really talking about Mendoza. I think that it was a little bit more strategic and technical than people think, because all the rest of the rounds, he was going with that right hook. He was coming around, and doing like an overhand right type move. Mm-hmm. And then this particular time, I think he kind of threw Fundora off because he was used to him coming from that right. And that's when he, bam, landed that left. And he didn't even see that coming because he had like kind of gave him that false sense of security with the left side. So I think it was a little bit more strategic, and Mendoza needs to be given a little bit more credit than people are giving him for pulling it off. I mean, because damn, the reach is just unbelievable of Fundora, and you're trying to slip his jab and work your way in. And as soon as you get in, it's time to reset. So you kind of have to be like slick and, a little bit more strategic when you want to beat someone like him. I know Erickson is like, damn, I should have did that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very short left hook. Very, very short left hook, almost instinctual as Fundora was punching too. And I mean, it just caught him just right. And once I saw the legs buckle and he fell like a tower, I was like, he ain't getting back up. And
that was smart. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
He knew when enough was enough, and good for Fundora there because he was in bad. He was
Well,
in
I'm
deep.
gonna play
He definitely
devil's
looked like he
advocate.
could have got up.
AKA Rob would be
Okay.
like, he quit. He quit. He didn't do it. He quit. That's that's my Rob voice, but you all know that's what he would say. So that's my devil's advocate for tonight, which is Rob. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's possible that he just was like, no mas?
I think he could have got up. He did say no mas to me. I mean, that's what it looked like. He didn't want any more. And maybe, as James is saying, maybe that's for the best. Maybe it was for like, man, I don't got it. That fall hurt, and I'm gonna stay down here, and I'll come back and win another day. But as we know, boxing fans don't like that shit. You know, we want to see you get up. We want to see you be able to fight on. That's how you win fans. You know, I mean, you're doing the opposite of Gotti, and we like the Gotti. We want the blood, the guts, and all that. And by not providing that, you're going to ostracize yourself with boxing fans. Look at Victor Ortiz, all these people that do that. I mean, I'm not dogging him for it, but for the fighters, I can see why
it was a missed opportunity. Yeah, I think you're right. It was a missed opportunity. But I was looking at his legs, and it was like his legs were like still stiff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't moving at all. Even though he had like was able to like sit up, I noticed that, you know, those legs was kind of like, you know, not quite there. And I think he knew it. He could sense that, you know, those long legs, if he'd have got up, he would have been doing the stanky leg like like Zhang. I don't think like I don't think he wanted that moment, but it was a missed opportunity as far as getting up and gaining fans like, yeah, he's a warrior.
Yeah, no, he certainly I agree with that, but he took 3 shots. He took 3 really good shots.
You're right. It was 3.
I think what he was thinking at that moment when he's down on his duff is he's saying, well, I got the rematch clause, so maybe he's going to exercise that soon enough. And so I think he was ahead on the cards too. So
oh yeah, for sure.
I didn't really check the cards. I think he was ahead.
He was
was on all 3. Yeah.
That moment where he's down on his duff thinking, do I go or do I not go? I think he made the right decision. Maybe I don't even recall how many seconds or minutes there were left in the round. But if it's a long haul, you know, like 60 seconds or more, guess what? Just stay on your duff and come back another day. And if you don't win the love of the fans that way, well, sorry, it's just the way it is. That's boxing. But he got to come back. He got to come back from this. He got to bounce back. Everyone is expecting him to. If in fact there is a rematch in there, for him to exercise it immediately and go after those belts. That was an interim belt. And I got a question for you guys about this.
That was.
We're talking interim. I thought we were going to get rid of all the interim belts. And here's WBC peddling one more interim belt. What's going on with that?
Yeah, they were after the WBA. It was the ABC that was the Boxing Commission.
Yeah.
They were the ones that sent the letter to the WBA specifically because they had like 4 titles for each division.
Right.
So they wanted them to get rid of like 2 of them. So they're in the process of doing that, but they didn't really touch WBC.
I know that
with their interims at all.
In this case, Jamel Charlo, or the smaller Charlo, 54 Charlo, is a belt holder there, and I think he is on like an injured reserve, let's say.
Yeah.
So there's a good reason to have interim, but and that kind of answers the question there. But really, you know, what I want to see is them just eradicate the interim belts all across the board for every division, or not division, but every commission.
Yeah, you're
speaking. That's going to happen. I mean, but 4 is really extreme. Like, we all got to agree that the 4 was just obsessive. But like 2 for each division, I can kind of see that. I mean, it's basically like to say you're the number 1 contender for the champion. Basically, is what I see it.
But you just said that. That's what it should be. We just name you. You know what I mean? You only need 1 belt. Let's face it. And I think boxing gets a bad rap because of that. And it's hard to explain it to fans that don't follow boxing. on how the belts work, because shit, sometimes it's hard for even the people that follow boxing to understand how belts work, let alone WBC just making these things out of fucking thin air. Right. I'm tired of the diamond shit and all that. All that needs to stop. Just at least go back to one. It's bad enough we have to deal with 4 world titles, but if we can at least just deal with those 4 world titles and not have to deal with anything else, that would be greatly appreciated. But
that was a thought that came to mind while I was watching this shit. I was like, why are we still?
Where's that WBC belt coming from?
It's all over the place.
But now, guys, there was one more thing that I kept reading online and having some friends actually inbox me saying that Fundora doesn't have a chin. He's been dropped before and all this, and I'm like, yeah, but he got caught with a punch he didn't really see. Mm-hmm. Plus, it was 2 more onto that, and I really didn't see. It'd be one thing if, like, somebody barely touched him and he fell. Like, this Mendoza is known for KOs. I mean, now he has 13 KOs on his record, Right. So it's like, not like he wasn't dealing with someone with power. But Erickson Lubin also was somebody that we also know is known for power. So it's kind of like, is his chin is he chinny or not? I don't feel like he is, but if I saw one more fight and he, demonstrated that he was kind of, not able to take a good shot, then that he saw, then I would have to put him in that category. But I'm not just yet ready to say he's chinny.
I've watched Fundora fight a few times, and one of the fights that I recall was against a guy named Nathaniel Gallimore from Chicago.
Yes.
Gallimore came out laying leather on him, and he took it, and he eventually won a fight by, I think it was a stoppage. I want to say it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since that fight. Maybe you guys recall it, but
I thought it was late stoppage. I can see though.
That sounds right.
But I do know that Gallimore is known for power.
He is.
It's about mid-fight. It was round 6.
Maybe a little bit later than that, but we'll see. We'll look it up. But
I am now.
Okay.
I just feel like they're trying to jump to this conclusion that this man is chinny. It's like they wanted to say it, but haven't, like, this was just their moment because this happened. They're like, I knew it. I told you he was chinny, and I'm not quite ready to go there, but I mean, you guys can let me know how you feel on the subject.
Well,
if he was, he would have gone down against Lubin, Yeah. And he
did go down against Lubin, but he got back up.
I meant as in, like, down and out.
Yeah.
No, I think, because Lubin's got very decent power.
Yeah, I mean,
Lubin's a strong fighter.
It's different. I wouldn't say he's chinny, but I would say maybe his equilibrium isn't the best. But then again, put Manny Pacquiao on stilts, give him a good push. I bet you he falls over. I mean, that's what it looks like when Fundora fights. I mean, he looks like Manny Pacquiao on stilts. And keeping those legs under him has to be difficult. I mean, he is very oddly shaped for his weight class. Not used to seeing, that kind of height and that kind of lankiness. Brett Reed here, Fundora ain't got no defense, only coming forward with that huge height and reach advantage. So once he steps to that tactical boxer puncher with defense, he's gonna get starched. I mean, Mendoza, he's powerful. He's obviously not, one of the more powerful ones that he's going to see near the top of the division. So, I mean, I don't know if Fundora can hang with some of those big punchers, especially if he's continuing to fight in like this. I don't think he's going to change and start fighting and using his height like we were talking about. I don't think that's really ever going to be a possibility. So I like Fundora. He's a great to watch, but can he get to the top of the division, guys?
I think so. I think he's got the brains and the muscle and the conditioning and the coaching, the training. I think he's got it all.
Yeah. What is Ralphie saying? Shout out to Ralphie.
Fundora has a good tool, but he needs to learn how used. He still young, can recover. New trainer for sure.
Oh, new trainer. Okay. I hadn't heard that one yet.
Not only is he chinny, Brett Reed says, not only is he chinny, but he's tall, thin build. He's susceptible to body shots too.
He's fighting on the inside, so he's definitely susceptible. But he uses the uppercut well. He jabs well. I just wish he kept his opponents at length a little bit more. Doesn't seem to do it. He just works his way in.
Who does train?
He's different.
It's a lot of tall boxers that do that. Like they give away that advantage they have and like to fight on the inside for some reason. I noticed that, that's a commonality with taller boxers. They don't necessarily always use that extra reach and that extra height to their benefit.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see him do a little bit more of a Tyson Fury style where he's keeping his opponents at bay with a jab.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't do it.
No,
I don't know that those
He'll
are the
start
orders.
out doing it, and then that's like it's abandoned quite early.
So talking about needing a new trainer, if he was to change, who would you like to see him with?
I think his dad's training him currently, so I think that's a pretty good formula there. I don't think that there's any talk or inclination for him to change trainers, but
I just feel like after so many years of your parent, teaching you or training you, even if they have a wealth of knowledge, at a certain point, it's like they don't have anything else different to offer. Like I always feel like you could always add to the team to just get some little fletches and, different nuances about your game.
Yeah.
So with those father-son teams, I tend to always feel like, well, how long have they been training them, and how much knowledge could they possibly have that they haven't already transferred over to that boxer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's rare. And I hate to tell a boxer this, but I've hinted at it before, and I appreciate everybody being loyal, but at some point you can outgrow certain trainers. You need to reach out. And, I know a lot of people feel guilty just saying like, I need to move on. But there should be no shame in that. You can even keep them on as a second if you want, you know what I mean?
Right,
but sometimes you got to grow, and you got to cut that piece of yourself off to be able to grow.
That's what Lennox Lewis was great at. Like he never was the type that, like, when he got to a certain level, his coach was even like, hey, this is all I got for you. Like we really need to get you. Like if you got a trainer that's for you, then they're going to be for you, even if they can't be with you. And they'll let you know. And so like, to me, Lennox Lewis is a classic, a wonderful example of like transferring to a different trainer at the right times. And not just doing it because you lost a fight with a specific trainer, because we all know some boxers that do that shit. Mm-hmm. but actually, sticking with someone until you feel like, hey, now I need to try to, tighten up this part of my defense, or I need to work on this part. This person's known for that, like, and it really worked to his benefit.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Okay, so the only thing I can tell you about Fundora that I'd like to see is that he does fight from the outside a little bit better. He doesn't seem to do it very much. He doesn't use the distance. He doesn't use the long jab. That's got to be part of his toolbox.
But who would be good at teaching someone how to really, I guess, goosing, because he's working with Ryan in his long reach. I guess maybe he would be good. I'm just trying to think of boxers. Who was Paul Williams' trainers?
Call me crazy. I would love to see Teddy Atlas with Fundora. I think he would be able to put a good base underneath those two long legs of his. That's another thing, is he can't be fighting on the inside, because as soon as he gets turned, it doesn't matter if the punches really land. If they're just nudging him, they're going to get his long, lanky ass off balance, and that's all that matters. Then they can re-angle, counter again. It could be an all-day thing with Fundora, especially when somebody learns how to turn them.
I wonder how much he works on those legs. Like, I'd like to see a little bit more muscle there, and like just strengthen him up a little bit more. And does he have a strength and conditioning person full time for him? Like, he needs something like that to kind of bulk him up a little bit more.
Sure, yeah, he's got legs like
Manute. Pushed around by everybody you get in there with.
He's got legs like Manute Bull. The one thing I'd like to see him do is, eventually move up to 60 and then 68 and see how it does there. Because I thought he could be like a 3 or 4 division world champ.
Right. I mean, and that's probably what they were hoping too, but
He's-
Mendoza had other plans and he upset the apple cart, as to say.
Yes.
At least for temporarily, he's upset that cart for a minute.
Well, he's got the heavyweight height.
No.
6'6".
He does, but at the same time, like, I really don't feel like they must can, how some people have a high metabolism and their body just eats up everything they eat really fast. I feel like he probably got that body type where he can only get so big.
Yeah, I don't really think he's draining himself or anything like that.
Right.
I think
he's not like,
actually
oh damn, I gotta make this weight.
Yeah, he just has that kind of metabolism. You're right. But yeah, I don't know. Fundora, let's hope that he actually gets some training under there. Now, real quick, as a rapid fire thing, you all think he could have gotten up? Not that he should have, but he could have. No.
I think
he didn't make an attempt, so it's hard to say.
I think in his mind he knew that he was shot. Maybe he just didn't see right. Maybe he looked across the ring and he saw 3 Brian Mendoza standing there.
Emilio thinks he didn't know where the hell he was at. Emilio thinks he was just like, where am I? Like, he felt like he was like out of it. I felt like he knew his legs weren't there. So
his eyes looked okay to me. Like when he looked like he was there, but who knows? Once he started moving those big legs, they might not have worked right. Maybe he said, screw that. I'm not even trying to get up. I'm going to fall back down anyways. So.
Oh man, it's a good thing you didn't. He made the right call there. You got to save yourself and know when to say when.
For sure. All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about Stevenson stopping Yoshino. Guys, I'm hearing a lot of things. Mainly, like I'm impressed, but and everybody keeps coming back to Stevenson's power. Does he have enough power to hang with the top of the division? Is he going to be able to, really step it up when he needs to and back people off? Because that's what I keep hearing. And for me, I think Stevenson's total package, I think he is the top of the division. But I want to see where you guys think, because even that stoppage was a little weak. I mean, it could have went on, right?
Well, no, he was in the referee was in the corner asking him, show me something or it gets stopped. And I think he ate left hook that landed pretty solid. And that was just the beginning of the end right there. And so maybe the ref did preempt a little bit.
He was looking bad. He had already taken a lot in the round before that. And I mean, to me, I feel like Shakur answered them questions about having power. He definitely has more power at 135 than he had at 122 or 120. What is it? 126.
Yeah.
So as he's gaining more weight, I think he's learning how to put more leverage on his punches. Sometimes it's not about being more powerful. It's just knowing how to get that twerk. Twerk onto the shots.
Did you say twerk?
Yeah, I was twerking. He was twerking. Let me stop. Yeah, the torque was not there in previous that I could see in previous fights of his. I see that he's putting some more. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, a little more stank on the punches. So I felt like those questions were answered that tonight. He's going to be able to hang with these 135 pounders. Now let's see if these 135 pounders are going to want to hang with him, because he got rid of that guy. What it was, Yoshino?
Yoshino, yeah.
Yeah, he got rid of him in record time when people thought that he was really going to offer Shakur major problems. So that just goes to show that there's really levels to this. And Shakur is at the topper echelons of that. So you can't really just because he's given other people awkward moments before, it was nothing to Shakur. I was definitely yes, this is what we need to this division. We just add one more person to it.
Yeah, no, the division's been hot for a long time, and we saw Teo Lopez move up to 140. So that's minus one fighter, but there's more 135ers coming up. I think it's the hottest division right now in boxing. Loma's in there, and what's the other guy? His name just slipped my mind. He just beat Cambosos. Haney.
Haney.
Jesus, that is a really, really tough division.
That
And
division.
so we know that we got Lomachenko versus Haney coming up pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'd like to see there is if Loma pulls it off, then he goes for Stevenson. And I don't know how many fights Loma's got left in his bag, but he's taking good care of himself. But we'll see. I think that Stevenson Loma would be a really, really good match.
Well, I
it'll
was
be
hoping
interesting
that
to see
it
what
was going
happens
to
there.
be like the winner of Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis takes the winner of Haney versus Loma. Like that was the matchup for me. But I mean, you know how Bob loves to do that top ranks, keep it inside the top
Yeah.
rank.
Mhm.
So it is more likely that we probably would see a Shakur versus Loma or
Mhm.
but he was just this week he was saying that he would go down and face the monster.
Mhm.
It's like he's willing to go down and wait to face the monster.
Mhm.
So he's looking at that type of money because he the monster brings in massive amounts of money, and you just got to go fight there. You got to fight in the East. The whole thing that I feel is that whoever fights who in this division, it still would be a great matchup. You know what I'm saying?
It's all
Like,
fair.
yeah, like it's gonna be all good regardless of how those matchups begin. I'm more interested in if Haney can hang on to 135 pounds after Loma. His father said he will, because that's where the action and the money is. But his body was looking like, no, the hell he ain't.
Yeah, that was against Cambosos. He looked like he was pretty drained before the fight. Fight
Yeah,
night, he was good. 24 hours later, he looked, well, a little bit more over 24 hours, but he looked good.
yeah, you rehydrate, you feeling great.
But nevertheless, at weigh-in, that's where you really
Yeah.
see whether they're going to stay at that weight or not. He just looked a little bit too drained.
Yeah.
Not a good sign. But I can't wait to see that fight, Haney Loma. That's coming up, and that's going to be a barn burner.
And you got Tio versus Josh Taylor. That's at what 140, right? So
Right.
So
the next
And
one
then you
is
got Keyshawn, you got the younger guys, you got Keyshawn Davis down there. Like that's the same weight class. Like he's coming up the ranks. He wants Frank Martin at one. I think the last time he fought, he was at 140.
Yeah, Keyshawn didn't have much of an opponent in Anthony Yiget. He's
No.
Yiget's got a few good victories in there. I think he beat DeMarcus Corley, who's been on the show.
Yeah.
Right. I think he's got that victory, but he also lost to Baranchik and he lost to a couple other guys. So those are like kind of step up fights that he just didn't didn't have that level. But Keyshawn looked sharp.
He really did.
Pretty much handed him his head in every round.
Yeah.
So that was a decisive win for Keyshawn, and that's another one. He's coming up. I think he's like 8 or 9 fights in, or 7 fights. I forget.
Right.
Obviously, so he's got a few. He's got a few, and he's got some developmental steps to take. But he's well on his way. So, 135 is hot.
It is. CJ says Stevenson number 1, Haney number 2, Tank number 3, and Garcia number 4. Oh, that's hard. One, I mean, Garcia is not apparently going to make 135 anymore, so I don't even know if I can consider him there. But Stevenson is he's going to have his hands full if he actually faces that gauntlet, and I hope he gets the chance. I know he called out Haney and already said he gets the better out of him. So,
right.
Is that a fight you guys are interested in?
Definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Ralph,
listen, but CJ, you messed up. Rob would just like melt.
That's what I was going to say.
Seen that list where you had Tank at number 3? Oh, he would have went off. Like that's like his God, and Javi. He Loma is his God, so like we would have a big argument right now just from the rankings right there that you came up with.
Oh, for sure. But Brett Reed also agrees Stevenson's in the top 4 to 5 for sure at 135. I mean, his talent's undeniable. It's just a matter of everybody saying he doesn't have the power. Does he have the power to keep up with guys and to be able to keep guys like Tank off of him? That's my question.
I mean, he can definitely systematically break you down. We saw that. But also, I mean, it's not like he doesn't have like you could just jump on him. Like it looked like that's what Mendoza could do to Fundora, right? Just this weekend. Like it's not a situation like that with Shakur. Like he knows how to create his boundaries and make you want to even question throwing a counter at him. Like you be scared to even throw the counter because you're like, damn, what's about to come back? And you don't want to look but so bad against the opposition. So it
Yeah.
just you're in there with a different beast when you're in there with somebody that's like playing a mental game on you.
I think in the end, when it all said and done, Stevenson, if in fact he stays at 135 and so forth, he is the top dog in the division. I think he's got more talent than Haney. I think he's by far more talented than Gervonta. And Gervonta's great, and Haney's great, and they're all good. All his 135ers are excellent fighters. I think in the end, Stevenson is just on his way to pound for pound stardom. And he will move up to 140, and he'll do well there too. But at 135, he's going to roll.
I mean, I'm going to do it. I don't usually do that. I would usually save my prediction for next week. But I see Tank winning next weekend. And honestly, Stevenson Tank is really the fight to be made. I mean, in my eyes, that's the fight I want to see more than anything. That's the one I'm more interested in. And that's really going to say who becomes a face of boxing in the future.
Yeah, but you're looking at top-ranked PBC.
It can still happen.
When it's a men's fight, they willing to talk. When it's a men's fight, they willing to talk. But
it could happen, but will it happen? There's a possibility, but there's a lot of fights in between.
For
before
sure.
it happens.
Oh, yeah,
These
for
guys
sure.
they know how to milk the cow from both ends.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that thing's going to be dried up.
Because Tank has already started, throwing a little shade at Shakur. Like, some interviewer was like, yeah, Shakur, he's got so much skill and, he's just like, so defensive minded and blah, blah, blah. And, and Tank's like, yeah, I mean, and that's all good, but, can you knock somebody out? Like, he's just like, yeah, but, it ain't me because I'm the knockout artist, right? He's basically saying, so they're already like kind of dicking at each other a little bit to say like, all that skill don't matter if you can't knock somebody out, So he's already coming at him like in that fashion.
Well, I don't know about that because, like, for example, Haney's not a knockout artist. I don't consider him one anyway.
Right.
But he stays in control of every round of, in every fight. He's just in control. So he's got a different ball game. Just not the knockout artist that we like to see. He gets the job done.
Yeah.
So there's that.
He's a little bit more disciplined, I think, than Haney.
Sure.
That's the biggest difference I see between Shakur and him is he's able to stay focused for a lot longer. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've already seen Haney, lose focus, get caught, have to pick himself together here. Let's see. Brett says Stevenson has got cocky personality. Also, he's confident in who he is in the ring. Needs to be hard to stop, hard to beat, even for Haney, Loma, Tank, and Garcia. If they met at 135, 140, that's for sure.
Now, as far as the Garcia Tank, and I'm just getting off subject here, but that is at 136, right?
Yeah.
Why are they fighting at 136?
Yeah, I wish I knew. None of it makes any sense. The only thing I think I could see is no title.
You can't get to 135, but you get to 136.
Yeah,
I'm not buying that.
It's Canelo. That's what this is.
One belt up for grabs or nothing?
No belts.
Okay,
they're not gonna make they're not creating a fake belt for this either.
Then they're allowed to fight at 136, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a championship fight.
Right. So Tank is gonna retain his belt regardless of this fight.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Ryan, he's like, they both agreed that they like want this bragging right, where they feel like they're better than the other one. And when's the last time we've seen younger, boxers say something like that? They've been all about the money, and it's a good thing there is money, to be made in this fight. But at the same time, they really are like into, I can beat this dude. I like that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I say that, but at the same point, it is also about money. You're talking pay-per-views, $85, if not more than that, from what I've heard. So we'll see where it ends up.
$85.
Whew. Meanwhile, the Teofimo fight that we were talking about earlier with Josh Taylor, that one's going to be just ESPN Plus.
Nice.
So
I mean, that's
need
for
to
a
see
reason,
more of that.
though. I mean, that's. I mean, that really
It is lesser of a fight. I'm not denying that. I'm not.
Well, not just that. It's just that the names. You know what I'm saying? It's like Tio has underperformed. The whole mess.
The loss to
Cambosa situation. Like so it's like they're not gonna like put him back in a pay-per-view situation till they know that they've got like a real pay-per-view numbers type of fight. And I don't think that Josh Taylor would garner that, as a European fighter. So that's why. But I'm just pissed off because I thought I was gonna see a different fight with Tio. I thought I was gonna see a different fight with Josh. I thought that was supposed to be Josh having a rematch with Catterall. Now I'm hearing that Prograis and Catterall are now in talks to have a fight because Jose Ramirez wasn't ready to fight Prograis. So it's like nobody is fighting who I wanted or who I thought they would be fighting at 140 right now. So that's a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing with Jose Ramirez that he turned down that fight, not knowing, claiming that let's see if I can get this right, claiming that he wasn't satisfied with what they were offering when there really wasn't any monetary offer there yet. It was a split, but there was no actual dollars and cents that was, concrete at that point. It just wasn't there, and he kind of turned it down, and he went after Comey, which was kind of an easier fight for him. But I really think that I really wanted to see him step up and take on Prograis.
Yeah, but
good matchup.
You know how some of those, early negotiations happen, and maybe he just got like this super lowball offer and was like, fuck you guys, I'm moving on. So
I think it was a 60-40 or something like that, or 70-30, and he says no. But there was no dollars and cents that you can really see. It probably would have been more than he ever made.
Percentage really is what the monetary amount would be for that percentage.
There you go. And so it just didn't make any sense, but he decided not to.
No, I don't think I love Ramirez. Y'all all you guys know
Same
that.
here. Same here.
I just really don't feel like he was ready to face a Prograis. And after I saw the fight, his last fight, I forgot who he even fought already. That's rude.
Prograis or Ramirez?
Ramirez.
Richard Comey.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry, Comey.
From Ghana.
Like from what I saw in that fight, I still don't feel like he's ready. I thought that the Ramirez I know would have had Comey out of there within 6 rounds at least. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't impressed. I know he's been out for a year now already. Before he had that fight, so I don't know. I really didn't see where he was ready for a Prograis.
I mean, Comey's not a walk in the park, and like you said, to be out for so long, I mean, to come back and fight Comey, I think that's still a move in the right direction. And yeah, we weren't maybe overly impressed with what he did, but he came out, he won. I mean, he did what he needed to do, so it's hard to take that away.
Ring rust is usually 3 to 4 rounds at the most, and then you start seeing flashes of the old Ramirez. Yeah. That's just relentless and on top of you. Like I didn't see that.
That's true. Sometimes it sets in a little deeper for certain styles, I guess. Let's see. Mike Ortiz, Tank versus Garcia is an entertaining fight, but Haney versus Loma is a way better fight. I mean, it is definitely going to be more of a tactical fight. Garcia and Tank's going to be more of a going at each other, whereas Haney Loma's more of a chess match. So styles. Let's see. Pay-per-view dollars will cease to exist once the stars fight each other. What you talking about, Carl? I'm confused. I'm not insulting you. I just don't understand, Carl. What's going on? Explain that a little bit better.
I don't know if that was supposed to be a joke or what we was hearing there.
Because if we're talking about the ones that we were talking about earlier, such as Garcia and Tank and Loma, I mean, all those guys, you can mix and match those, and I mean, those are all pay-per-view fights, especially nowadays. They're going to consider that pay-per-view. Ralphie says Ramirez versus Cepeda rematch could happen.
It could, but after he lost to Prograis, probably not. Prograis stopped Cepeda in, I think it was 6 rounds.
It was 6, I think too. That's what came to my mind, 6.
And that was very decisive too. So I doubt that would happen.
But when Ramirez Cepeda fought, it was a pretty good fight.
Cepeda lost or won his last fight.
Well, I mean, he lost it nevertheless, but
yeah. No, Cepeda, Chom Cepeda, he fought recently in Mexico. Maybe
what I think it is for Cepeda at this point is he's been through a lot of wars.
Yeah, against Baranchik.
Yes, that was like, woo, yes. And then Hooker, he was with Maurice Hooker. That was another rough one. Like, I feel like he's just like, his body is kind of like feeling the effects of all those like hard fought fights.
Well, he's bouncing back though. He got his victory after the Prograis fight, right? Like I said, in Mexico City. I'm gonna say like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I believe he won by stoppage. We could check.
Okay. Let's see.
So he's bouncing back.
Brett says Tank's got to be careful he don't get caught early by Ryan's left hook and that liver shot. Tank's a late starter. Rolly Romero Tank balanced a few times, stunned him once or twice. Also before Tank settled into the bout. Brett, I don't mean to cut you off, buddy, but that's next week's show. I'm not going to go too much into that.
Well, Brett is thinking kind of like me. I mean, I was thinking that Ryan needs to have a quick early start since Tank likes to start, slower.
Definitely agree there. Yeah.
So he's on the right road.
He definitely knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Carl, the novice, drives pay-per-view dollars. Thank you for explaining. And I agree. Definitely the more common fan is the one that's going to drive the pay-per-view money. But it's really, in essence, also driven by us because we say, really, this guy's the guy you got to look out for, right? And then the other common guy's like, I think I heard that name before, sees a commercial of a pay-per-view and then is like, okay, that's what it is.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. So it is a little, it goes hand in hand, but you're right. I mean, obviously.
But with the Davis Garcia fight, what we're seeing is, Ryan, he has a lot of, social media followers, and Davis has his own fan base that he's bringing to the table, which is why it does look so enticing. So there's a little bit of that star power in their fight that's driving that pay-per-view price as well.
Here's another thing, Sakura. You mentioned that Davis is a slow starter.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that, but I think it's strategic. I think he likes to let his opponents come forward more and more, as opposed to him chasing them and them backing up. And I think what he's doing is fighting smart and letting them come.
What we were just talking about, right? Where we were talking about how it was a setup, like it's like a false sense of security.
Yeah, I think that's what he did.
When they start banging away, he's like, gotcha.
Like Romero, Rolly Romero was coming in banging hard and throwing. And he just likes that. I mean, because it's a setup.
Yeah,
he's very effective at
finding out a way that he's gonna, set his punch up.
I can see Garcia coming in hot and heavy and throwing a lot of hooks and overhands, but in the end, Gervonta Davis just sits pretty, goes back against the ropes, and catches his opponents coming in. Very effective fighter.
Games too, James, because he's got a hellified chin.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like
I really want to go into it too. I've almost done it twice. I'm holding back.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm holding back.
Let's leave
We
alone.
got a whole show next week. I'm sure it's going to be dedicated to nothing but
Okay,
this.
okay.
Enough said.
Let's answer Mike's question. I'm going to move on here in just a minute, but Mike says you all think Boots will try to fight Stanionis since Ortiz have to pull out.
Oh, that was so sad. Damn, I hate he has that condition.
I thought that fight was rescheduled for July, though.
I thought it was postponed. Don't quote me on
Yeah, it's
that.
postponed, I think.
So no, I hope not. I want to see Stanionis Ortiz.
As far as I know, he had that bout with Rabjo again. So that one illness that he had prior, it just kind of flared up again. But I'm pretty sure that this is scheduled for. I don't remember the date, but I'm pretty sure
end of July. Yeah,
July.
Yeah, I want to say the end of July.
Who knows?
I don't know how they were able to schedule it like so quickly because you never know the healing time on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, his question about Boots, yeah, who the hell is gonna step up and fight Boots? I mean, at this point, it's not Boots that needs to step up. It's like somebody that's in that division, top fivers, they need to step up and fight Boots. Go ahead, Lucas. Yes.
Okay. No, I was just telling him Brett's got to get off, so I was just telling him bye.
Oh, you look like he was raising your hand like he was in school. No. Yes, Lucas.
Go ahead.
We all want to see,
I'm your school teacher. Yes.
We all want to see Boots Ennis. Everybody wants to see Boots Ennis fight. He's good. He's exciting.
I want to see Boots fight the winner.
He's a top welter, so yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've been wanting to see Boots versus Ortiz anyway. Ortiz. So, yeah. I mean, the winner would be just that much sweeter, which I think is going to be Ortiz, but call me crazy.
It would be the fight because, like, all the rest of the options is for him to fight an aging or an older welterweight, and Virgil Ortiz is the option where it's like the same generation. You know what I'm saying? Like the same age group, the same coming up the ladder type boxer. So that's what makes it enticing. But I don't know if that'll get made either because we still are talking about two different promotional companies and everybody wanting to be the A side in that.
Yeah, it sucks. Everybody's talking like the Cold War ended. The Cold War never ended. Like the boxing war. No. Yeah, it's if anything, it has gotten worse. But let's talk a little bit. We're gonna change topics here. Jared Anderson's calling out the big names and said he's ready now. Would you guys agree?
Most
you
definitely.
Do. You do. I think you're one of the only supporters, right?
I don't even know what are we saying? Who are we calling the big name?
I mean, he's a big name. He's talking Usyk. He's talking Fury. He's talking, Wilder, Joshua.
I don't know about them three names.
Andy Ruiz, even. I am not saying he's ready.
I don't even know about that fourth name. I don't think he's actually had a step up fight yet as an interim type step up fight because these boxers that he's fighting, and partly the problem is that there aren't any in between heavyweights left anymore, unless you go with a Joyce, not a Joe Joyce. I'm sorry, a Joseph Parker. That like what are we talking about? Like a Dillian White. We talking about like what's the other guy that's kind of older that everybody fights?
Terrell Miller.
The UK guy.
That's old.
Dang, who did he last fight? Him and Fury would fight. Chisora. Yeah. Like you gotta have something in there first before you go calling out a Fury and a Usyk, an undisputed champion. You know what I'm saying? Like, because these boxers that he's been facing is like so not on his level that there's no progress for him to be learning from those fights.
Right.
So I'm feeling like that he's trying to like skip a little bit. I mean, FA maybe, even FA has more experience at this point that could cause him issues, just knowing how to stay in there. Maybe the Nordic. How about that? The Nordic Nightmare, maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of God, his name just slipped my mind, but there is some heavyweights that he could take that next step up. You know, not the very top of the heap, but you know, there's some out there,
Well,
and
you
he's
said
going to get
Big
those.
Baby a minute ago.
Oh, I was thinking Frank Martin is a name. Maybe
Let-
not. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. It's not Frank Martin. It's that Frank Martin fought this last weekend. Frank Sanchez.
Oh,
He
Frank
also,
Sanchez.
yeah, he just won. He had kind of an easy out.
Or Lisa Ortiz. Let him, have
Yeah.
a aging.
give him to Areola. You know, if you get past
Yeah.
Areola's a
Yeah, he's
true
a great
gatekeeper of the
Yeah.
heavyweight division. I mean,
Yeah.
if you gonna beat somebody in the division, you have to be able to show up against Areola.
That is very true. I agree with that.
All right, let's.
But Big Baby versus Big Baby, the real Big Baby, coming to the theaters near you. Like, I can't wait for them to dish. I want them to dish this out, hash it out in the ring. Who really is Big Baby? Damn it.
Yeah, I just don't see what everybody's saying. Like, I haven't seen anything special to say that he's ready for anybody, but he hasn't had, that marquee measuring type fight yet. But at
Not
the
at
same
all.
point, he's not, especially for today's heavyweight fighters, he's really not that big.
Yeah, no, and
Right?
he's walked all over the competition he's had, and that's just a lack of competition. I've seen him
Yeah,
destroy a few guys in 1 and 2 rounds that just had no business in the ring with him.
I agree. I don't think that's a good fit. The same thing with Richard Torres. He's torn apart his competitors as well because there's just not that many heavyweights in their age group. That's the problem. But they gotta have some fights that really teach and learn that they learn from. And I don't think they've gotten that yet.
I definitely want to
Well, I
see.
know Torres has.
Yeah, I mean, Jared's got to face somebody that's got some pop. You're talking about George Arias. He's got a KO percentage of 36%. That's small, especially for a heavyweight. I mean, I know he was undefeated, but you're talking split decision. I mean, he's not the greatest boxer, let alone the biggest power puncher. A heavyweight, he really needs somebody to prove himself against. So hopefully, the next outing we see somebody a lot better. How do you feel?
Yeah, totally.
Kind of already went over that, Mike, a little earlier. We spent quite a bit on Fundora, but hopefully he comes back better than ever. Definitely good TV. Bam Rodriguez, guys. Bam Rodriguez.
I'm so embarrassed. I did not get to see this fight. It was too many to choose from that night. And I didn't get back around to seeing Bam. I was only able to read. I didn't even see the highlights. I was only able to read about the fight.
Well,
apparently he did good, right, James?
Yeah, the big fights this weekend. I watched it post. I didn't watch it. I'm not paying for DACN. Sorry.
You're trying to talk Sakura into canceling for a while.
Yeah, no, the idea is that I watched it.
And I got it, and I still ain't watching it. Damn it, Lucas. I still ain't canceled this subscription and still didn't watch it. Because it's like you're in La La Land and everybody else is watching either Showtime Fight or ESPN, which is on regular TV. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't want to be knowing the outcome. Everybody's like, as soon as the fight ain't even over yet and you're seeing highlights and stuff. And I can't deal with that. Right. Emilio can't. I want to see it when I don't know what the answer is. What the end result is.
Bam moved down in weight. He fought at 112 and took care of business there. He had an excellent opponent. I think he moved. His last fight was 118, correct? So he had moved down to fight for another belt, so another division, and he had an opponent in front of him. Unlike some of the other fights we're talking about, he had a great opponent. And he had got his jaw busted up pretty bad too. So he's going to be out for 4 to 6 months before he's back in the sparring stages. So
whoa, that was a rough fight then.
Oh no, it definitely was.
Violence. I might have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, some of the scorecards were a little funny there, but
Oh, we don't want to
he
get
had an
into
opponent.
that. Oh
That's
God.
boxing for you.
I mean, no, but the fact that we saw that on the PBC card as well, that Fundora, the undercard.
Mhm.
It was like the two winners on the undercard. Most people didn't feel like they really won, or that it was at least a draw. And they had it wide margins for whom the winner, the winners were in each one. So like it was bad.
Yeah, that was a common complaint from Saturday. That was pretty
Yeah.
atrocious.
Do you remember who the name of the guy he fought was, James? Bam?
Gonzalez.
Okay.
I think it was Christian Gonzalez, but I could check that. There's so many Gonzalez in this world.
Yeah, I can check it later. I just wanted to know because you were saying he did an excellent job. So, when these opponents that's not supposed to cause issues, cause problems, I feel like we gotta give them the shout out.
Yeah, and one of those you're talking about the Brandun Lee fight, right? Like
Yes, the
that was
Brandun
pretty.
Lee
Against
Especially
Pedro,
when you look at the punch stats too, it was pretty bad.
that was against a guy named Pedro Campa.
Yeah,
Campa.
I'd give it to Brandun Lee,
did?
but still a pretty
close.
decent.
I don't know about that. It was like that dude was pretty aggressive with him and forcing the action like most of the fight. Yeah, Brandun Lee had the harder punches. They rewarded the harder punches, the power. But I just felt like, the way those scores were, it made it seem like Brandon just destroyed this man. And it was like it was more like a draw to me than anything.
That's what I was reading. Most ringside media had it a draw.
Campa ate a lot of leather, though.
His face, he started swelling up right away, though. He really,
Brandun Lee. No, he's got a lot of miles on him too. Campa has been around the block a few times. He's not a spring chicken. And
okay, James, time out though. When you say that though, and they still cause somebody problems that's supposed to be fresh out the chicken coop, okay, so to speak, like Brandun Lee. What is that saying about what he can do in the division with harder opponents?
Well, that's one of the things that we need to see with Brandon. I mean, he's kind of fighting at the same level, not really taking that next step. Over and over and over again, he's got these pretty decent opponents coming in, but they're all at the same level. He needs a level up a little bit there.
I mean, they're putting him in that same level because he hasn't proved that he gets through these opponents enough to give him somebody that could actually whip his ass. That's why. like when he beats one of these guys and it's decisive, then they'll move him up.
Well, it's been very, very careful matchmaking for Brandun Lee. He's proven that he's good. There's no question about it. We just all need to see him take that next step. It's time.
It is time.
Yes, I think he gets destroyed by one of some. I don't know who, but like he ain't looking good against Campa. No offense to him. He did excellent that night. I'm saying if you're having problems with Campa, you really gotta re-examine what's going on with you and your team.
Brandun Lee was in trouble in his last fight. He went down. He has some really good competition, so he's getting stiff competition. Still think it's time for him to step up into that next level.
I'm looking forward.
He's winning.
To it.
Well, maybe he'll rise to the occasion. Maybe he's slacking because he thinks these guys aren't that good, and then he gets in there and finds out like these are veterans and they know how to survive and they can make you look bad.
Brandun Lee's a very, very talented fighter. He's got his dad in his corner. It's a good team.
Mike Ortiz says Joyce versus Zhang. Someone is going to sleep. I call this an hors d'oeuvre until next week. This is to hold us over. Guys, do you like this fight?
I thought that fight was this weekend.
That is this weekend. Yeah, it's to hold us over until the Tank Garcia, though. This is the meteor. This is the treat before we get that. That's what I'm saying.
Joyce, didn't he just fight?
He fought recently, yeah.
Right?
What, February?
No. He hasn't fought since August.
Well, I
I thought he fought more recent.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know.
Well, at any rate, Joyce, I think he did just fight.
September.
That was September?
He fought Parker in September.
That was Parker. Yeah, that was
It was a hell of a fight.
Well, I guess it is time for him to get back in the ring then. So with that being said, to me there's nothing that stands out for Joyce for me. But he knows how to win. That's the only thing that sticks out to me is that he knows how to dig deep and actually get that win. Cause he's very slow. I mean, you can telepath his punches.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this guy Zhang fight, so I don't know what his level is. But if he has any skill whatsoever, it's gonna be a hard night for Joyce. Because
this is two monsters fighting in slow motion.
Oh, okay. So they both gonna be looking like Rock'em Sock'ems.
It's slow motion. Last time I the last time I saw Zhilei Zhang fight, I thought it was highlights in slow motion, but no, it was actual fight. It was against Perkovic. Man, we're talking like I felt like I had just smoked 7 joints or something. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh my God.
No, this was like slow, and so
it'd be so bad. I'm like Andy Ruiz would have a field day with him. Oh my God!
It would be like that in the first round.
Oh yeah, he would just be like, and Joyce would be like, well, what just happened? Like, I mean, it would look like Flash. You remember Flash? I'm telling my age.
There's something about the way Joyce fights, and I don't know, man. He took out Parker most recently, right?
Aged Parker. He did a lot. Those legs ain't the same.
I don't think age is a big issue with Parker. He's not the youngest of the bunch, but he's not up there.
I mean, but he's aged as far as like experience, like as far as competition. He's had a lot of fights. Like they use him quite a bit, is what I'm saying. So I feel like you know how that is. I just really I wish I could see something else in Joyce, but I'm being as honest as I know how. I don't see anything that's like spectacular with him other than his mentality, which is that I'm gonna get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him against some different competition. That's for sure. Zhang, even getting a win over Zhang's not going to prove anything for me. Zhang's coming off a loss anyway. So, I mean, let's give him Jared Anderson. That way we can find out together what both of these guys are made of.
Don't say that.
So kill 2 birds, 1 stone and find out what they're both made out of. I don't have any grudges against Joyce. I've seen him fight. I like to watch the fights. It's like he's saying, though, it is seeming like slow motion compared to a lot of other fighters, especially near the top of the division. It gets a little rough. Yes. Parker obviously is his best win, and that again, I mean, he's not saying too much. So hopefully we see what he's able to actually do, and we get some kind of measuring stick. It's desperately needed.
For real.
All right, guys. We had a lot to go over. I tried to keep the ball moving. I think we did pretty good. Anything else you guys wanted to touch on before we close out? I know I'm forgetting something. I'm sure I am.
We have the ladies. We have the announcement for Claressa Shields versus Hannah Gabriel, baby. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait because, that's the only girl that's given Claressa a knockdown. And since then, she probably got a little beef feels in a way because of the fact that her belt that she had maintained, Hannah had maintained for a while, was taken from her at some point, and Claressa ended up fighting for a unification title with that belt when they was giving her all the undisputed. I'm saying at one of those divisions, she was able to capture that. So maybe it's a little beef in that, but shout out to Claressa for going back and wanting to give Hannah a second fight. I mean, I think it's amazing, and it's also the right thing to do. You know, when somebody's belt gets taken from them, so that you can get undisputed status per se. Um, you know, it's something that you really want to like just be honest. She said, I want to fight her because that's the only fight that I had that my fans were like got a little scared, like, oh my God, she dropped me. But I really don't feel like Clarissa. I mean, Clarissa has only gotten better and better and better since then. And Hannah might be way over her skates at this point. Being that her career hasn't been able to, she hasn't been able to have as many fights as Clarissa's as she's been improving. So, but it still is a great fight to watch. And it's going to be in Detroit, guys. Mm-hmm. When's the last time you heard of a fight being in Detroit?
Probably Shields pay-per-view or Shields main event, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Probably last time. But
no, she's from
Michigan somewhere.
Flint. Yeah, she's from Flint, Michigan. Her fights were in Flint.
They had one though in Detroit though, didn't they? A Showtime main event, I thought.
Oh, I thought it was in Flint.
I don't know, maybe.
But
there was
nevertheless, it's a great opportunity for Detroit to get some action. They've been probably, they got real boxing fans there, So hopefully this is a huge event. That's what I'm hoping, that it brings out some of the old timers, some of the new school people, all the Crunk fans. Like, I hope everybody is there, and it's like a big to do type thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first fight, Shields just got caught cold. I mean, that's the way I thought. I didn't really see a need to come back to like revisit this fight. Mm-hmm. However, I mean, Hannah hasn't lost since, so why not?
So, Lucas, you also mentioned that, if there's anything else we need to mention, there is some talk out there about Spence and Crawford.
There is.
Getting closer and closer. I know that Alexis Rocha from California was near signing a fight with Crawford, and I think that's
I think it was
not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's not so. I think they're a little bit closer to doing this Spence Crawford thing. There was one website out there that said it was finalized, and that's not true. But hopefully we're getting a little closer to finally getting this done, because we didn't get Fury Joshua. Sorry, Usyk Joshua.
I was going to say, well, either Usyk one.
And Fury. We didn't get that, and that all fell apart because there was some rematch clause business that they couldn't settle on. But this is a welterweight showdown that we really, really need to see. Hopefully they're closer.
I would love that if it happens. And I'm hearing the date that June is the month that I'm hearing thrown out there. If it really is a date, they probably just don't want to release it right now because of the Davis and Garcia. They don't want to take away, because once that fight's announced, like, there's going to be nothing else talked about in the sport. So it's kind of like, let's keep this under wraps for a minute. I hope that is a real thing this time too.
Yeah, I think Garcia and Tank would appreciate that, because it probably would overshadow that, especially if it gets announced like within this next week, before the fight. We don't want that. We don't want anything taken away from this. Let's have our big fights, and I appreciate that this year I think boxing has came back very strong.
Yes.
Because last year was shit show. 2023
it was an amazing year for
That's
women.
Right. That's right. But 2023 so far is shaping up pretty nicely. So I'm optimistic that we will actually get Spence versus Crawford.
Yeah.
Mike Ortiz says Spence versus Crawford not happening June 17th. I think that's all clout. We will see. We will see.
Yeah. We hope.
We did miss Rob, but I think it's been a great show. Thank you both for coming on, James and Sakura and Ortiz, Brett Reed, Carl, everybody that's commenting. We appreciate it. Definitely like the feedback. Don't forget to follow us at Heavy Bag Boxing on all of our social media, www.heavybagboxing.com for all your boxing news. Good fight, good night. We'll see you next week.